Hey folks, it's Editing Truth in the editing booth. Once again, this one is going to be the final video of my summer of manga, with mere days, if not hours, to spare before the end of fall and the beginning of winter. I did label this the comedy edition, but 3 out of 4 of these are going to be rom-coms, aka bait for lonely dudes who get no. Also, this is going to be a totally regular episode. Nothing out of the ordinary will pop in. Definitely no vague hints of things to come, so enjoy that. I will be back soon with my end-of-year recap. Now, here's some pretty big news, which might not sound like big news. Komi Volume 23 came out in English. As it turns out, Volume 23 is probably the most important volume since Volume 1. I don't know if I want to spoil what goes down in Volume 23 of Komi, but suffice it to say there is a major plot development, and it's the kind of thing that I thought a series like Komi would never touch on. It's something that kind of like changes the whole dynamic of the series going forward and like actually made me excited to read more again. The past few volumes of Komi that have come out, I've been like, yeah, I'll read this. It'll be pretty funny. This'll, pass the time. But now I'm like actually invested in it a lot more than before. I will say though, my kind of continuous complaint with Komi, and it's not a huge complaint, it's just that, it sets up this goal at the very beginning of Komi wants to make 100 friends, and the progress is extremely slow. If I recall, I've gotten through 25 volumes so far, and she is still less than halfway there. I might be wrong about that. She may have passed the halfway point, but it's still, like, if she has, it's just barely. Volume 25 introduced a character that I fucking hate. It's this. So in Volume 25, they're starting a new school year, and a new classmate of Komi's is a guy who at all times keeps a pacifier in his mouth and says nothing but goo goo gaga and acts like a literal baby at all times. And I fucking hate this. It's not funny. I don't know why this character exists. I don't know if the, artist thought this was a funny idea. I don't know if any readers think this is a funny idea, but I'm just like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? There was also a pretty creative idea in Volume 25, though, which doesn't make a lot of real-world sense, but the idea was that the whole high school does this Nerf gun battle royale, and I kind of think that the purpose of this series of chapters was to kind of draw the characters how they would be in the context of an action series. And that's an interesting concept, to take these characters from a pretty low-stakes comedy series and recontextualize them into an action thriller setting, while also keeping it grounded in the real world. That was a pretty neat idea. I also thought it was really funny when one character called Tadano a simp. What else? Spy Family Volume 9 came out this year. Loved it. I think Spy Family is still keeping up great steam. I'm still loving every minute of it. Volume 9 has a really funny sequence where Anya's classmate Becky goes over to her house and basically tries to woo Lloyd, and he's basically just kind of going along like, what the hell kind of game are these kids trying to play? And it's really funny, just like the premise of how like, you know, this little kid thinks that she's pursuing a genuine romance, and all the while the adults are just kind of like, what game is this? I don't understand what these kids are into these days. But yeah, I think I don't know if it's later this year or a little farther on, but Spy Family is supposed to get another anime season as well as an additional movie coming out. And at the rate it's going, I think it's going to overtake the printed English volumes. That doesn't happen all too often. It's probably going to happen with the next season of My Hero Academia also. At least I feel like that's very likely. But I don't know, I mean, it's gonna be weird seeing, like, new episodes of Spy Family and, you know, having, like, absolutely no familiarity with the chapters that they came from. Because I think, like, Volume 10 doesn't come out until much later this year. I gotta say, though, like, there is a chapter here and there that I would not mind if it doesn't get animated. Like, specifically, there's a chapter where their dog, Bond, kind of, like, through happenstance ends up, like, going on a mission with Twilight. And it became just, like, completely ridiculously over the top, where it's, like, Bond is, like, helping him fight bad guys and stuff, and, like, they kind of, like, anthropomorphize him a lot, make him, like, actually, like, punching and kicking goons. And I thought it was just, like, I'm like, okay, I know this is a comedy series. I think they dialed the silliness up a little bit too high. I don't know, I mean, this is just, like, kind of my personal stance, but I don't like it when, like, fiction tries to humanize animals, and, like, specifically dogs, too much. You know, it's one thing if it's, like, a total fantasy setting where, like, dogs can talk, or, like, dogs walk around on two legs and act like people, but when you're trying to, like, put forth the image of, like, a real world ass dog, it really, like, takes me out of the story when you have them, like, going into action scenes and punching and kicking bad guys like a human would, when it's something that, like, a real dog would absolutely never do. I don't know, that's just kind of like my nitpick. That might be a dumb complaint, but it's something that always sticks out to me in fiction. So, I recently bought a box set. I bought the first Nagatoro box set of 6 volumes, and yes, I have the second volume on pre-order, and I read volume 14 of the series, and also the box set came with this neat little thing right here. I don't know, I always kind of, like, struggle to talk about this series, and like, it's hard to express why I'm into it and why I keep reading it. I know I touched on it briefly again in my previous video, and I've basically said that, like, it reminds me of better times in my life. I don't know, like, how much more detail I want to go into about it than that, but I feel like I could potentially make just, like, a really long and in-depth video about, like, what kind of weirdo reads Nagatoro. But if I was gonna make something like that, it would have to get, like, super personal and, like, super heartfelt, and I feel like that would be a really compelling watch, but I don't know if, like, I have the strength to make something like that at this point.
What do you admire most about your best friend? Next question.
It's something I would really love to delve into one day, though. Just because, like, it's a series that I know some people love. Some people love. And plenty of people think is trash. And I can totally understand where people are coming from if they are in the party that believe it's trash. I will give you this piece of advice, though. Do not look at the titles of the manga that this artist made before Nagatoro. Just don't even look at them. They're fucking unforgivable. To continue in the, I guess, rom-com vein, I've mentioned that I've been reading this other series called When Will Ayumu Make His Move? And I got up to 10 volumes of that one as of halfway through this year. That one, continues to be pretty good. I mentioned last time I talked about it that it is kind of one note. It's very much a lot of, like, the male main character will say something unusually bold about his feelings for the female main character, then she gets all flustered, and that's the gag. I will say, though, like, the side characters are getting kind of interesting in that series. There's, like, a secondary love interest pairing, and in one of the more recent volumes, the girl in that couple just out of the blue decided to kiss the guy, and this was at a point where we were like, I say we, like, I guess we, the collective readers of this series, were just like, oh geez, does she even want a relationship with him? Does she even understand what a relationship is? And then that just happens out of nowhere, and it's like, oh, isn't that adorable? I wonder where else this is gonna go with them. And, well, I haven't read any more of that series since April, but I think another volume or two might be out. I kind of need to get back into that one at some point. Oh, yeah, by the way, it is, on the surface, a shogi manga. I still don't know the first thing about shogi. You totally don't need to. I still enjoy the story for what it is. Once more, a very special thanks to everybody who financially supports this YouTube channel and my Twitch streams. You too can become a certified Truth Fairy if you give me $1 on Patreon. This video finally wraps up my summer of manga, which became my fall of manga. Stay tuned for my end-of-year recap, or my winter of manga, which I intend to edit at a much faster pace than I did these. Anyway, after I do that project, I'd really like to do something very different. I mean, still a manga review, but hopefully something a little more in-depth. Until then, I am just gonna turn it over to Charlie, and he'll tell you the funniest manga he read in 2023.